Hi everyone, it's Chrissie and welcome back to the channel and welcome back to a really long speed build. So yeah, today we're back with another family home, and this house is something that I called a realistic family home, and I'll explain why I called it that in just a second. But I do want to mention that this build is only the base game and high school years, so it's a very pack restricted build. I only use the base game and high school years, and it's actually a 4-bedroom 3.5 bathroom family house. So there's like 3 floors, but basically we have the kind of like main floor, like first floor, where the kitchen, living room, all of that stuff is. Then we have the upstairs where the main bedroom is for the parents. We have a teenager's bedroom, and then we have a bedroom that's kind of like for twin children or like 2 children. And then we actually have a basement as well, which you can see me working on right now. And in this basement we have a garage, which I actually cut out I cut out the furnishing of it in the video. But basically in the garage there's just a like decorative car, there's a couple of like workout things and a woodworking table and some storage basically. But yeah, so in the basement we have the garage. Then we also have a bathroom, like a full big bathroom, and then we have another bedroom, and that bedroom I figured would be for like an older teenager or something, but I'll talk about that in just a second. But yeah, so the idea with this build was to make a kind of like, I say realistic, but like as realistic as you can in The Sims obviously. But I wanted to make a build that was kind of like a suburban, but I didn't want it to be like my typical, suburban homes that I've built like 1,000 times on the channel, because I wanted to do a base game house. Originally I wanted this to just be base game. And then, I wanted to do a suburban house because doing suburban houses with the base game is just like the easiest thing to do. But I wanted to make it a little bit more interesting. So I found actually this inspiration picture that I'll put up on the screen. And I kind of used that as the inspiration for the front of the house and kind of like the front shape of the house. Which, as you can see on the picture, you actually have this like the driveway kind of, and the garage. It's kind of like in a basement, and there's a bunch of these like different height elevations of the house. So it kind of looks like the house is, the basement is either open, with the garage, or maybe it's like a 3-story house, but from the front it kind of looks like it's on a little bit of a hill with this like raised terrain, almost like terrace type bit, going up to the front porch. So basically this meant that I had to mess around with terrain tools, and messing around with terrain tools when it's not something that you're accustomed to using, which I very rarely use terrain tools, is such a hassle. I spent about like an hour and a half to 2 hours just trying to figure out how I wanted this build to work, or how I could get it to work and actually look good, because obviously I don't want it to look like, I just built a house and then lowered it into the ground. I kind of wanted it to blend, and because the world in The Sims 4, all of the worlds are kind of flat, and I was building this in Willow Creek obviously, which is a very flat world. I didn't want to make it look weird having, a bunch of terrain manipulation. I wanted it to look very kind of like intentional, kind of like on purpose. So yeah, I spent so much time trying to figure that out, but eventually I found a way to do it, and I actually really like the way it turned out. Now, you'll see me messing around with a bunch of not debug, but like live edit fences and like concrete walls and like stuff from the live edit menu. And basically these concrete walls, or like, they kind of look like cinder blocks, but they worked so well to make it look like this house had a like concrete foundation. And because I obviously just obviously I didn't actually build with like the basement tool. I kind of just built a room and then lowered it into the ground for the basement. You obviously have the terrain tools that are kind of weird and they don't like go right up to the wall. You always have this weird little gap. So I wanted to use these concrete walls or like concrete fences to basically create like a fake foundation to make it look like, you know, maybe that whole area is the foundation and it's actually supposed to be like a basement. So yeah, I really like the way that turned out. It took me quite a bit of fiddling. I had to cut quite a bit of it out because a lot of it is really repetitive. Because once you kind of get the general gist of what I do with them, then it's just a lot of the same thing over and over again. So I cut a lot of that out. I actually ended up cutting out quite a bit of this build just because it took me so long to do. I don't know how I spent nearly 7 hours on this, but I did. And that meant I ended up with like almost an hour-long video. So I had to cut out quite a lot, which, you know, obviously I cut out the bathrooms because usually when I cut stuff out, the bathrooms are like the first thing to go. So I cut out all of the bathrooms. There are 3.5 of them, like I said. So basically in the basement, there's a full bathroom. So with a shower tub, combo, like sinks and toilet, all of that stuff. Then on the first floor, which is kind of like the main living area, we have a half bathroom. So just a toilet and a sink. And then upstairs, we have an ensuite to the parents' bedroom. And then a really big bathroom, kind of like for the other teenager and the 2 kids to share. So yeah, there's 3 bathrooms and then 4 bedrooms. And realistically, you have space for like 5 Sims. So like 2 teenagers. No, not 5, 6 Sims. Yeah, so like 2 parents, 2 teenagers and 2 children. But there's something weird with the children's bedroom, which I'll talk about once we get to it. But yeah, so as you can see, we've started working on the floor plan. And like I said, I had to cut a lot of stuff out. I actually left in like most of the floor plan process, which is weird because usually I do the floor plans like completely off camera. And usually I'll even, you know, when I go in, sometimes I'll go in like with this build and I'll plan out like the general shape of the build, maybe even the roofing. And just to make sure that, you know, I can fit everything that I want to fit, or, you know, it kind of gives me the vibes that I was looking for, if that makes sense. And I'll do all of that stuff off camera usually, and I'll also go in and like do the floor plan off camera, because a lot of the times, you know, you have to like tweak the exterior of the build if a floor plan isn't working, and it's easier to do that like off camera and then kind of know what you want the shape to be when you're actually recording. So I'll like do all of that off camera, and then I'll bulldoze a lot and I'll do everything again but on camera, and that way I don't have to worry about, you know, having a bunch of unnecessary footage that I just have to cut out anyway. But with this one, I actually left in a lot of the floor plan. There are a couple of things I cut out, like figuring out the stair placement, because I spent so long messing with those stairs. It's absolutely insane. Like, I tried to do a cool like configurable stair shape or whatever, but it just was not working, especially because I wanted obviously a staircase into the basement. So yeah, I don't know, I cut all of that out because it took me forever. But I left a lot of my like thought process and, you know, actually doing the floor plan in. So I hope you guys like that. Don't expect it to happen every single time I do a build, because honestly, floor plans are the bane of my existence. So yeah, usually I'll just cut them out. But with this one, I left it in, and I cut out the bathrooms. I cut out all of the hallways. So obviously we have the main hallway, which is kind of like where you enter the house. That just has like a console table, a chair, and, you know, a mirror or something like that in it. Then we have the hallway upstairs, which actually has a couple of like activities in it. So we have a chess table up there, we have a bookcase, and then we also have a desk, which in my head would be like a family desk. So like for the parents and the kids. And I say kids because both teenagers actually end up having desks and computers in their bedrooms. But yeah, so we have like the family computer upstairs. And then downstairs in the basement, I actually end up expanding that little like hallway kind of area. and I actually managed to fit in a grand piano and a beanbag chair and a guitar, which is really weird, I know, thinking about like putting a big grand piano in the basement of all places. So like realistically, I would have liked to have used the keyboard from, you know, City Living or something, but obviously I wasn't using it, so I put in a grand piano. And I did that because I figured, you know, maybe one of the parents are like super into music and they're like super into like playing the piano, and you know, it's just something that they do. And so they have a grand piano. They also have I think a guitar. I can't remember if it was a guitar or a violin. I think it was a guitar that I put downstairs. And then the teenager, the one that's in the basement, actually has a guitar in their bedroom as well. So maybe they're like musical and like artsy as well, which I don't know. Maybe they share that hobby with their parents. But yeah, so that's kind of how the house is laid out. So yeah, we have like obviously a big open plan kitchen dining, and then we have the living room, which is also like really big. But yeah, and then in the backyard we just have a pool, we have a grill, a table, a couple of lounge chairs, and a monkey bars, which, you know, we don't have a lot of like play equipment for kids in just the base game. We have the monkey bars, and then we have those really big, like, I don't know, like jungle gym, like the pirate ship and the space, I don't know, not space station, but like the spaceship thing, which they were just too big to fit in this backyard, because the backyard actually isn't all that big, because obviously I had to do all of like the terrain manipulation at the front of the house. So yeah, there wasn't a lot of space at the back, and I didn't really want to put this house on a bigger lot either. So yeah, we just have that in the backyard, and then in the front on that little like, I guess, raised terrain terrace bit, which I actually put a lot of those like concrete walls that I used by the driveway. I put those all the way around that little raised terrace to kind of make it look like it's a retaining wall or something, and then I extend that into the backyard as well. So not the like raised terrain, but like the concrete fence, I extend that into the backyard. So, you know, this fence that I'm using right now. But yeah, so we do that, and then on that little terrace there's actually a little bird bath, like just decoration, a tree and a picnic table, and I think I also put down a telescope as well. So yeah, there are quite a few activities on this lot. I think you have something for every skill, I think, apart from mixology, because I didn't put a bar anywhere, and I also didn't put a like art easel anywhere either. But the teenager in the basement actually has one of those digital sketch pads, so you can, like, realistically, you can still practice the painting skill. You just can't do it on an art easel, which is totally fine. But yeah, I think I have, something for like every single skill, apart from like something weird like rocket science or whatever, because I'm not fitting a rocket into the backyard. It's just not happening. But yeah, so that's, I think, everything that's like on the exterior of the build, I think, and everything that's like weird that I wanted to mention, or like, I guess, housekeepy, that, you know, stuff that people like to know about. So yeah, we have that. It's on a 30 by 20 lot as well. I should probably mention that. It's on a 30 by 20 lot. And it turned out to be like 196 or something like that thousand simoleons, so it's very expensive, but it's a really big family home. So, and obviously it's one of my builds, so obviously it's going to be expensive. But yeah, so that's basically everything. It's also like really cluttered as well, I should mention that. Not so much the kitchen. The kitchen does have a couple of like lived in things in it, but there's a lot of clutter and like mess in the living room and in all of the kids' bedrooms as well. I don't know, I wanted to make it look as realistic and as, you know, like lived in, and, you know, as I possibly could, like I said, as realistic as I possibly could. So even in the parents' bedroom, there's like clutter on the bedside tables. There's, you know, a little like open book on the bed, like, you know, maybe they just sat down and wrote something in that journal on the bed and kind of just like left it there. And yeah, so I just, like I said, I wanted to add as many realistic touches as I could. And I would have definitely added like laundry in the basement as well if I was using the laundry day pack. So if you wanted to do that, there's a ton of space in the garage actually, where you could move a couple of things around. You could delete a couple of the just decorative shelves and stuff that I have down there. And you could easily fit in a laundry machine and a dryer down there. You could probably also fit a laundry line, like a clothes line, in the backyard somewhere. Honestly, I don't know where you would put it. Maybe if you deleted the monkey bars, maybe the kids have grown up and you want to delete the monkey bars and put a clothesline there, you could totally do that. Or you could delete a couple of the other things like the lounge chairs or whatever. But yeah, obviously feel free to change up this house to fit whatever family you have that you want to play with. And obviously you're totally free to change up anything you want. Just don't re-upload the build and claim it as your own. But other than that, you're free to like completely like delete everything on the interior and furnish it yourself if that's something you wanted to do, or like change up the floor plan. And obviously if you have other packs and there's other things that you would like to add, then you can definitely do that as well. So speaking of like adding stuff, so the reason that I actually ended up using the high school years pack and not making this just base game is because of the basement. I actually didn't think that I would have as much space as I did in the basement. So I was thinking that it would maybe just be like the garage and it wouldn't really be like a functional space. But then when I came to do the floor plan, I actually saw that, I could fit in another bedroom. And that's when I thought about this whole idea of having like 2 teenagers and 2 kids instead of like a teenager, a child, and a toddler or something like that. And I figured, if I was doing something that was very like, I guess, kid or like child, and I say child, but I really mean like offspring, like child, so like children, teenagers, whatever. If I was doing something that was very like family, I guess you could say, oriented, why not use the high school years pack? It's a really, really great pack, and there's so much stuff in there that I use in almost every single build that I do. So I figured, we'll do base game, high school years. There are also 2 styles that work really well together. And especially for like the interior of this, I kind of wanted the house to look like I wanted it to look realistic. So there's a couple of older things, like the kitchen cabinets and counters are a little bit older. But the dining room, like the dining room table, is a little bit more modern. Some of the couches in the living room are a little bit more modern, whereas the fireplace is obviously older. And then we have like the basement, which I wanted the bathroom, especially in the basement, to kind of look like it's been completely remodeled. So the bathroom in the basement and then the parents' bathroom actually has different tiles from the other like bathrooms in the house. And usually whenever I build, I'll try and keep like the bathrooms in a house, I'll give them all the same like floor tiles and wallpaper or like wall tiles or whatever. But for this one, I wanted it to look like the parents' bathroom, and then the older teenagers' bathroom in the basement was actually completely renovated. And I did that like I said, on purpose. And I also wanted to make it look like, there's some really, really old carpet still in the basement. So the hallway in the basement has this really old dark gray carpet. And same with the teenager's bedroom in the basement. But then the rest of the house upstairs actually is wooden floorboards, apart from the 2 kids' rooms. I think I made both like the child and the teenager's rooms upstairs. I think they also have carpet, if I'm not mistaken, but it's a different carpet. So it kind of looks like, again, they renovated a little bit. So they've had a little bit of work done here and there on the house. And, some parts of it is older, some parts are a little bit newer, like maybe they've replaced some furniture or like the flooring, or, maybe like counters or whatever here and there, or like, bathroom stuff. And yeah, that's just something that I really, really liked. Usually I don't build that way. Usually if I do a build, I'll stick to making it like all super old looking, or everything is really modern. And I don't tend to mix those styles like together too much, because I don't usually try and build like super realistic houses in any sense of the word. But for this one, I actually kind of tried. Now, obviously, it's not super realistic. It's, you know, as close as we can get to it in The Sims. But yeah, I really like the way it turned out. And I did playtest everything, so your Sims can get everywhere. I was a little bit hesitant because obviously I used a lot of those debug fences to make like I'd say fake, but yeah, like the fake foundation. So I was a little bit hesitant about, you know, whether some of those things would have like a weird effect on the interior of the house or like the routing or whatever. But I actually played in this house for like a day or two in some time, and my Sim could use everything. They could use like the whole kitchen, the living room, bathrooms, you know, all of the skill items. They could get everywhere as well. They could use all of the beds, apart from one of the bunk beds in the kids' room. Now, once we get to the kids' room, we're nowhere near it at this point. But I'm afraid that once we get to it, I will have forgotten that I wanted to mention it. But basically, I used in the kids' room, which is one of the bigger bedrooms upstairs, the one like that I said would be like for twins or something. I use a couple of bunk beds in there, and obviously I use a base game bunk bed, like the top bunk, but the bottom bed is actually a bed from the high school years pack. Now, I've noticed quite a few bugs with the high school year pack beds, you know, previously in some of my other builds as well. Like, their routing is really, really weird. It's almost like the footprint that they have, like, around them is bigger than other beds. Even though it doesn't look like it, like the tiles that it shows you that it uses, they're the same size as any of the other beds. But for some reason, you can't place items, you know, as close to those beds as you can to any other bed. So I mean, like base game beds, other pack beds, it doesn't really matter. But for some reason with the high school year beds, you can't place items as close to them. And it's really weird because sometimes something will work and then I'll do the same thing in another build and it won't. And it's just like the routing for them is really, really weird. Like some items interfere with their, like, you know, where you can place them. Not place them, but like how your Sims use them, if that makes sense. So if they have the space to use them, some items interfere with that, other items don't. And it's really weird. And I've only noticed this with the high school years like beds. I haven't noticed it with any of the other ones. But basically in the kids' room, I obviously used a top bunk from the base game, and then I used a bed from the high school years pack. And for some weird ass reason, that bottom bunk bed just refuses to work. Like, I have deleted everything within like a 3 square tile radius of that bed, and it just will not work. I've deleted, you know, I've deleted wall decorations. I've deleted any and all clutter around it. I've, you know, actually moved the whole bed to the backyard. Like, I had like the whole bunk bed, like the top bunk and the bottom one. I moved them to the backyard and it still would not work. So there was literally nothing around it. But the minute I deleted the top bunk, you could use the bed. And it's not like I used move objects to like get the bottom bed underneath the top one. It's actually like snapped to the top bunk bed. So it's kind of like how the game wants it, but it just will not work. And I playtested this with another bed. So I deleted the high school years one and I put down a base game bed in its place in the kids' room, like as a bottom bunk. And it worked with all of the same clutter, all of like everything else worked perfectly fine. But the minute I used a high school years bed, it just would not work. And that's really, really irritating. And obviously there's nothing I could do about it. It's at this point, it's just a like pack bug or like a bug with those beds, because like I said, use the base game one and it was working perfectly fine. But in this case, I actually, now usually I would just delete the bed and use another bed and just call it a day, because obviously there's no way for me to make it work apart from either switching out the beds or deleting the top one completely. And I didn't really want to do that. I wanted a like bunk bed in that room because I wanted it to look like it was for 2 kids rather than just 1. And so what I did instead is I decided to ignore the fact that the bottom bed will not work. And I decided to go with aesthetics instead of functionality in this case. So yeah, if you do download this build and you have 2 kids that you want to have share that bedroom, then do just be aware that you will have to swap out the high school years bed that I used for any other bed that you have, like literally any other bed from the base game, from another pack, doesn't matter. Just switch it out for another bed and then the bedroom will work perfectly fine because everything else works apart from that freaking bed. So yeah, you'll just have to do that if you want to have them use like both beds, or if you just have 1 kid and you maybe want it to look like they have the bottom bed as, I don't know, maybe something for when their friends come over for sleepovers or whatever. Not that you can do that, but if you want to pretend that's what it's for, or if it's just for like, you know, aesthetics, like, you know, it kind of actually is, then, you know, feel free to just leave it. But yeah, if you want to make it functional, you'll have to swap out the bed. And yeah, that's basically what I wanted to mention with that. I think that dragged on for way longer than it probably should have. But yeah, we're still working on the living room. Like I said, this video is incredibly long and I haven't well, I cannot speak. I haven't done a long voiceover like this. This is an almost 40-minute voiceover, by the way. I haven't done a voiceover this long in quite some time. And the last time I did one this long, my voice actually crapped out on me like halfway through, and it's already starting to do the same thing again. So if I sound different than I did at the beginning of this voiceover, then I do apologize, but my voice just doesn't like talking for this long. And yeah, it's just one of those things. But yeah, so talking a little bit more about the other bedrooms. So obviously that was the kids' bedroom upstairs. And like I said, we also have a teenager's room upstairs and then one in the basement. So the teenager's room upstairs is actually the smallest one out of all of the bedrooms. And originally you will have seen that I kind of like swapped the wallpapers around for the 2 kids' bedrooms upstairs. Because originally I wanted the smaller bedroom to be for a child and just like 1 child, and then have a teenager in the bigger bedroom. But then when I had the idea of having them be like twins and bunk beds and all of that stuff, I kind of just switched the rooms around a little bit. So yeah, the teenager upstairs actually has the smallest bedroom in the house, which is kind of sad. But they still have more than enough space. They have a bed that's totally functional. I actually merge 2 single beds together to make it look kind of like a 3/4 bed. So kind of like halfway between a double bed and like a single bed. So I do that just to make it look a little bit bigger, you know. I don't know, it's more realistic to me and I really like the way it looked, so I did it. And the one side of the bed, obviously the one bed, I guess you could say, is still completely functional, which is all I really wanted. So yeah, that's totally functional. But that teenager actually also has TV in their bedroom because, yeah, the parents have a TV in their bedroom and then the teenager upstairs has one too. Because I figured that teenager would be like really into sports but also really into gaming. So they have a big flat screen TV in their bedroom. They also have like a desk with a big gaming computer and a bunch of like gaming and sports posters and stuff like that throughout their room. And if I was using the City Living pack, I actually probably would have put down like a game console in their bedroom as well. Because recently when I was doing another build, and I posted a picture of this over on Twitter, but I was doing another build that actually hasn't gone up yet, but I was doing that build and I placed a like game console in a Sim's bedroom with the idea of them, you know, laying in bed or sitting in bed and playing. And then for some reason, I thought that your Sims couldn't do that. So I put a chair at the bottom of the bed so that they could actually use the game console. But then when I was playtesting it, my Sim just sat down on the bed. Like they sat cross-legged on the bed. And, you know, like they would if they wanted to watch TV or something. But they sat cross-legged on the bed and they just started playing with the game console, which kind of blew my mind because for some reason I thought that they couldn't do that. But apparently they can. So if you wanted to and you have city living, just put a game console in this bedroom, like close to the TV somewhere, and your sim will probably be able to sit in bed and actually play video games like on the TV. But yeah, like I said, they do have a big gaming PC in here as well. One of the ones that came with the high school years pack, and then just a bunch of like gaming and kind of like sport type teenage clutter, if that makes sense. They also have a like stereo at the foot of the bed and a bunch of like, I don't know, like game clutter and stuff like that. And then I do originally try and put a bedside table in here, but it wasn't working because I wanted them to have like a full-size desk. So I decided to instead just give them like a big desk, and then the desk kind of like doubles as a nightstand. But yeah, like I said, they have a computer. They also have this gaming, I guess kind of like gaming tablet. So there's one in their room, and then there's another one actually in the living room downstairs, which I figured that one would probably be one that maybe the kids share or something. And I think, yeah, I think that's everything in this bedroom apart from like a bunch of posters and clutter. I kind of go all out with the posters. In both this bedroom, the kids' room, and the other teenagers' bedroom, I like cover like at least one of the walls completely in like posters and stuff. But yeah, that's basically this teenager's room. And then the kids' room is actually the one that we're going to be working on after this. And I actually already placed down the beds, so you'll kind of like see which like high school years bed I'm talking about. But yeah, so for the kids' room, I basically just put down the beds. I put down one desk and a dresser, a mirror, and then I think I put down a toy chest as well. A toy chest, a big like stuffed animal, and then also one of the creativity tables, just so that they have like some sort of like skill building item. And then I think the last like interior room that we're going to be working on is going to be the teenagers' room downstairs, because like I said, I cut out the hallway downstairs in the basement as well as the garage. So yeah, in the basement you're only going to be seeing the bedroom. But for that bedroom, I kind of went with a kind of like purple, black, blue, and pink theme. So I don't know, it's not really like dark or anything like that, like goth or anything, but I really love the way that bedroom turned out. But yeah, so I used a ton of the high school years pack in that bedroom. It's kind of like I went all out with it. But they have like another big desk, the other like fancier gaming PC. They have that little like hanging egg chair from high school years. They actually have a double bed as well. And then I also put in one of the clothes racks that we got with high school years, the ones that are in the thrift store. So basically I used that clothes rack so that they could, you know, in their bedroom, they could actually go and create like fashion looks for trendy, which is like part of the gameplay with high school years. So they can actually do that from home. They don't have to go to like a thrift store to create like fashion looks and stuff. But yeah, they also have like a regular dresser too for like gameplay. And then I think that's everything. I didn't put a TV in their bedroom because it just, with the layout, with how I did the layout, it just didn't work. So they don't have a TV, but they do have like a big gaming computer. They have a digital sketch pad in there as well, like I mentioned, and they also have a guitar, and then obviously that clothes rack thing. So maybe the teenager in like the basement is really into fashion, and maybe they're like really into fashion and I don't know, maybe like digital art or something, and they also play the guitar a little bit. Maybe it's something that one of their parents taught them. And I figured that the teenager that stays down here is probably the older of the two, because obviously they have like the biggest bedroom for one. They also kind of have an ensuite. I mean, no one is really going to use the bathroom downstairs because, yeah, I mean, they have bathrooms upstairs. They have no reason to use the downstairs one, so it's kind of like this teenager's ensuite in a way. But I figured maybe this teen is a little bit closer to like being a young adult or something, and maybe they're about to kind of like graduate high school and like go to university or something. Or maybe they are in university. I mean, there's nothing in this room that particularly screams like teenager. It could very easily be for a young adult, like a university young adult or something like that. So yeah, that could really easily be the case as well. But yeah, like I said, I love the way this room turned out, and I had a lot of fun with it. I don't usually use like those like fairy light curtains in a pink swatch, and also the bed that I ended up using, I don't think I've ever used that swatch. It's kind of like light pink with like a light minty bluish color, but the bluish, like the bedspread, actually has a couple of like skull patterns on them, which is really cool. So yeah, I don't know, I love the way this room turned out. I had so much fun just cluttering it up and picking like the wall art and everything like that. So I also use a couple of these almost like Polaroid looking pictures. So maybe this teenager is like, maybe it's art that they've created, or maybe it's pictures that they've taken. But yeah, I figured they would be like really into digital art or like photography, or you know, something like that. And then also definitely something in like fashion as well. So yeah, I don't know, I love the way this turned out. I hope you guys like it as well. But yeah, for the rest of the video, we're just going to be adding a couple of finishing touches inside, moving to the exterior, doing a couple of last minute things like, you know, actually furnishing the porches and stuff like that. But yeah, that's going to be basically it. So like I said, it is only base game and high school years, so if you guys want to download it, it is up on the gallery. It's completely custom content free, like, you know, most of my speed builds are, unless I like explicitly say that I used custom content. But yeah, it's completely CC free, and like I said, restricted packs, but all of the download information, like my gallery ID, you know, all of that stuff will be in the description. And I also have like a download link and, you know, all of that stuff that I usually have. But yeah, I hope you guys like how this build turned out. If you did, give the video a like. If you're new to the channel and you'd like to see some more Sims content, then feel free to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell as well to be notified of whenever I upload a new video. So currently I'm trying to stick to 2 videos a week, like one in the week and one over the weekend. And for the next couple of weeks, the weekday one will probably be an apartment build, and then I'll have maybe like a bigger or longer speed build out over the weekend. Just because life is like really hectic for me at the moment, so it's just easier that way. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this build. Like I said, I hope you've had a great week and you're having a great weekend, and I'll talk to you in my very next video. Bye everyone.
I bet you don't even know my name, but that's okay, I can't blame you. You've got better things to worry about, like kissing strangers when you go out, spending time with all your friends. Wish I had the guts to ask you out sometime, but I know this could never be. But if I am allowed to dream, and it was you and me, then I would laugh with you all night, take my chance and hold you close, and I'd follow you back home. If I could be somebody else, I would be your Romeo, and I would never let you go. Maybe I could be your stranger. One too many and strobing lights, yet I can spot you in this crowd. Am I staring way too obvious? What if I gathered all my confidence? Could I walk right up to